on one hand, we can't be trying to develop tourism as this critical industry, and at the other hand, saying, no, stop. And this is what the UNWTO very wisely has started to focus on, to say, let's look at the issues behind that label to really unlock the problems, because the problem is not over-tourism. That's a quick badge that's been put on the problem. The problem goes much deeper, which is why we have such a great panel today to look at what exactly is going on. How do we continue to promote one of the most inspiring and connecting industries in the world, but in a way that genuinely builds destinations for both people and places, not just the tourism opportunity itself?
We need to look past the symptom, really, to the cause. Responsible management of capacity, flows, resources, and behavior. Sustainable tourism needs to become the central focus of tourism destinations and businesses in today's day and age of travel. Dispersion of travelers across the destinations throughout the year has become a very critical part of balancing tourism growth with tourism pressure. From a UNWTO perspective, sustainable tourism can be defined as tourism that takes full account of its current and future economic, social, and environmental impacts, addressing the needs of visitors, the industry, the environment, and more importantly, the host communities.
We know what the problem is. It's articulated. Sadly, it's articulated in the term over-tourism, which I fundamentally believe, like Sunita was saying, we need to move to, as has been reinforced by UNWTO, WTTC, others. It's about overcrowding. It's about resource management. It's about policy development. How do we start shifting that storyline, though? Because from an international media perspective, both the travel industry and general, and business and environment, the issue is now focusing on the problem. How do we start shifting the storyline amongst communication, both formal and informal, to talk about the solutions? You're looking as if you've got a thought on that. Please, can you share?
Actually, I really enjoy the what you just said. I agree to you 100%. Also, what Sunita just presented. Personally, as well as within Travelzoo, we believe, over-tourism may not be the most accurate word to be used to describe as well as to summarize the problem. The problem, over-tourism make it feel like it's a little bit overdeveloped, and it gives a very negative fear to people. And usually, if you start to fear about something, that actually stop you from digging into it, looking into it honestly, and then working together to find a solution, then people tend to be nervous and stay away. And then I don't think this is a healthy start to look at this issue, especially within Travelzoo. We discussed so much internally as a team yesterday. So I think start to address this as an overcrowded or crowdedness. I think it's the first step. I think number one is we have to be 100% aware and honest with where the problem is. And this is really the starting point to get everything addressed. And we believe the problem really sits in the imbalance between demand and the supply. That's why overcrowded might be a better word to summarize it. I think for a lot of the destinations, I believe the problem occurs when the carrying capacity cannot meet the spiking demand within a certain time frame. So it's fundamentally an issue of supply and demand.
So each tourist destination has its own challenges and therefore its own solutions. And in my case, the city of Dubrovnik is the city of only 40,000 inhabitants and welcomes almost 2 million tourists per year. So for a larger city, that number of tourists is not like big deal and big problem to handle, but the over-tourism really depends very much on the size of destination. So we cannot talk and receive as much as we want the tourists to a smaller destination on bigger. In bigger destination, they're spread around. Also creating balance between the local population and incoming tourists is very important, it's a key. And I believe, really, if the local people and local residents are satisfied and happy with their life standard, then that positivity will be felt by the tourists they visit. So that is really important to make all the plans and all developments together, including local population. And at the end, I believe there is no one-size-fits-all solution, because every destination, each city must find and discover its own path and find own answers to develop something better for their destination.
How do we start working with destinations to put those types of balance metrics in place and create that right model? What can you share in that regard?
Now, first of all, of course, I would like to highlight that tourism brings a lot of good to communities, to destinations, to the economies. Nevertheless, I agree with Mrs. Sun that we have to first to understand the problem well. So if we take measures, we also have to understand in which areas, which domains we have to take those measures. And the term over-tourism is a little bit misleading, because it's not, in my view, according to my PhD study, it's not only it should not only focus on crowding, on the number of tourists, but clearly on other kinds of issues as well. In the first place, for example, there's also issues with many stakeholders. In my research, I came across, for example, a lack of vision by governments, but also the territorial attitude of hotels on the beaches that are public. They send people away from beaches, for example. Tour guides that block the streets in cities. You have so many examples. So that's part of the problem, maybe not fitting very much with the term over-tourism. Secondly, there's the issue of the change of the social, economic, and environmental environment in people's lives. So the landscape is changing. Big buildings, big construction works, project developers who take decisions that people not always like. And in the third place, there's a category of issues that how tourism impacts the personal daily life of people. You could call it the quality of life, because people have to go to their work every day, and tourists are sometimes blocking the streets, so that people have to take a different route to the work or to bring children to school, etc. So if we take all these things into account, I think if we want to come with solutions, we have to cater for this complexity of the problem and to involve and collaborate with multiple stakeholders. And the residents, from the sustainability perspective, is key in this.
And how do we start moving to the solution and looking at it unemotionally from the point of view of economic solutions that can then be put into policies and put into practices? What can you share about that journey in recognizing, oh my goodness, we have a loud problem that's starting to rumble. We need to turn that into collective voices of solution.
There is not a solution, an only solution for everybody. We have to bear in mind that. But I think we have to bear in mind that two points. One point is that over-tourism, and I dislike it. It's, in fact, this is a congestion management, a carrying capacity issue, is not an issue of the city-wide. It's an issue of concrete neighborhoods in cities. And the other side that has to be addressed not only from the tourist perspective, has to be addressed in and to be integrated in the urban agenda. I think in seeing that is very relevant, that always when there comes a problem, there is a chance, there is a challenge, and there's opportunity for the tourism industry. And I think the big opportunity is that in the developing countries, that tourism could be and should be again come back in the political agenda.
Can you share from your side, Ramona, I'd love to hear how you've been able to clearly engage the people of Dubrovnik to open their 40,000 arms very wide to 2 million tourists, please.
Dubrovnik has a long and rich tradition in tourism sector. So many of our, the tourism in Dubrovnik didn't happen overnight. And many of our citizens are working in a tourism sector directly or indirectly. So we are happy that we have citizens, they really understand all the sensitivities and importance of tourism. from our side, it is important to involve all those citizens that they are already involved in the tourism and to make and find solutions together to have better tourism in the destinations. So that is one of our major point, including locals, to talk with them. And if we make plans or strategies or developments, consulting the locals, we will be able to hear what their concerns are.
Is there anything you have learned around how international films, international media, that exposure is able to be comfortably absorbed into destinations? Do you have any, because Japan, interestingly, you're in a part of the world that is very much under the production lens.
I think this is a very interesting question. Like, you know, within Travelzoo, we work a lot with destinations. And, you know, while we help to promote new destinations or, you know, promote, like, among travelers to go to the same destination during different time of the year, another lens that we always bring to the picture is to help develop different ways to enjoy the same destination.
It's different ways to enjoy the same destination.
I do believe so. I think, you know, as Albert said, you know, there's so many things, so many positive things, good things that's been done, you know, provided by global tourism. And I don't think today, talking about overcrowded destination, the goal is never to ask people stop traveling or stop traveling again and again. I think, you know, we're a media company. Our goal is to promote cities, same city to the same people and ask them to come back again and again. But you can read, it's like reading a book. You have different chapters and you can enjoy the city in a different view. You don't just go to Paris because they have Eiffel Tower. You know, there's so many more that you can discover about Paris. And it's, I mean, we're a media company and it's, I treat that as part of our duty to find the content, to present interesting stories in front of the international tourists and give them like a reason to come back while not add on the pressure to the locals and then infrastructures.
And it's using that rechanneling of interest. Professor Postma, your point of view on the issue of tax.
I agree with Mr. Butler. It's a short-time solution, and I think it could give the people living in the city the feeling that they live in a museum that you pay entrance fee for. So I don't think that's a proper solution, but it's one of many measures to control tourism, both in time and space. You can also vary with the fees in different parts of the year, different seasons and so on. So there's another question that's also about a financial kind of tool, but I think there's so many other tools, and Mr. Butler was already referring to this report that we wrote in the autumn of last year. It's downloadable from the UNWTO website, and it shows the complete array of measures that can be taken to control tourism in a way, and this is just one of them.
Indeed.
I think you should always look for a combination with other tools.
What can destinations do proactively to start actually embracing a solution approach rather than having to face a problem and then work backwards?
So what we are doing, and actually now after first year of introduction of the project, we can say that we are on the right way. So the mayor of Dubrovnik introduced project Respect the City last year. So it has long-term and short-term measures and goals. So we started in 2018 with organizing cruise ships arrivals because we've detected that the cruise ship passengers coming at the same time are causing a big problem in organizing normal life in the city. Because we wanted to give opportunity to the people that are staying in our hotels to enjoy the city as much as they want. And if we have at a certain times during the week or during the day so much crowds, they have to stay in the hotels or to go somewhere else. So that was the first short-term measure to organize cruise ships. So we started with the simple things. We invited Port Authority, Police Department, City of Dubrovnik, so City of Dubrovnik is on the top of everything, Dubrovnik Tourist Board. And at the beginning, we let 3 buses every 5 to 10 minutes to the city. And we didn't notice any day, any moment of congestion in traffic during whole last year. So there are still more measures and more things what we are doing, but it shows results.